Yeah, class, good morning. We are expected to discuss critically African people and culture. It's unfortunate I've not seen anybody online, but I think I can continue with the class pending the time people will join us online. Um, it's important we understand the concept of culture. Please, class, if you can hear me clearly, you need to signify in the comment section so I know if you guys are hearing me clearly. You know, like we said in the class, culture, most in most instances rather, or in most instances, can be referred to as the total way of a people or the people, as the case may be. This includes things like belief, values, norms, customs, traditions, language, arts, laws, religion, um, material traits that are mostly passed from one generation to another. In the works of Edward Taylor, 1871, they believe that, or he believed that culture is a shared knowledge and behavior that characterize a particular society or social group. Over the years, we need to understand that culture shapes how individuals perceive the world around them, how they interact with others, and the sense they make out of life generally. When we talk of cultural identity, what exactly are we talking about? We are referring to the qualities, beliefs, personality, appearance that define an individual or a group of people. One thing you need to understand clearly is that cultural identity specifically refers to a sense of belonging to a particular group or culture. Therefore, it is often expressed through language, religion, the kind of clothes we put on, the kind of food we consume, our tradition, and our collective memory, as the case may be. In Nigeria, for instance, our identity is strongly tied to ethnic, linguistics, religious, and regional affiliations that reflects the country's diverse heritage. We have types and forms of culture. Culture can be categorized into types and forms. These include one, material and non-material culture. When we talk of material culture, we are specifically making reference to physical objects, artifacts, and other tangible elements of culture, such as building, clothing, tools, artworks. Then on the other side, non-material culture consists of intangible aspects, which implies that the aspects that cannot be seen. What are the examples of non-material culture? Non-material culture includes things like values, norms, beliefs, customs, and language. Then also you can say tradition. The major difference between material and non-material culture is that material aspect of culture are things that can be seen, while non-material aspect of culture are intangible aspects of our culture that cannot be seen. People can portray value, but you cannot see it. People can portray artworks, you can see it. People can portray clothing, buildings, tools. These are things you can see, touch, and know them. But non-material aspect of culture are those aspects of culture that are intangible. You cannot see them. You cannot perceive them. We also have the concept of popular and folk culture. Popular culture simply just refers to the mainstream cultural elements that are widespread and in most instances are, let me say, often influenced by, let's say, media or globalization. We all know what we mean by media, but some of us may not be connected or familiar with the concept of globalization. What do I mean by globalization? Most of us must have heard that the world is now a global village. The world is now a global village because people now can communicate with others in every part of the world without even going there. Sometimes ago, our parents, before they can speak with their relatives abroad, they need to get some forms of paper and write a letter or through telegram, and this takes several months. Some of these letters even get missing along the way. But in recent times, you can sit in the comfort of your homes. You can sit in the comfort of your houses, and you get to do a lot of things. It is because of globalization that the usual culture of going to class and stand in front of students has always been the order of the day. But right now, because of globalization, you and I are here. I'm sitting in the comfort of my home. Please, those who are online should start dropping. Those who are online should start dropping their reg numbers for attendance, please. After the class, those who are not with us may not have the chance to join us as regards to the attendance. Can you, class, if you can hear me clearly? If you can hear me clearly, you can signify by empty. Complete colors. Okay, class, are you with me? You can as well ask your questions. I'll be following up your questions under the comment section so that whatever I explain and you don't get clearly, I can immediately respond to them. Now, I was making reference to popular culture, which I said refers to the mainstream cultural elements that are widespread and influenced by media and globalization. Globalization is one of the things you and I are doing right now, because In Nigeria, if you look at Nollywood films, Afrobeats, and some forms of urban fashion, folk culture is traditional, it is localized, and it is also passed down orally across generations, such as indigenous music, oral literature, folklore, and festivals. We also have the concept of high and low culture. High culture refers to cultural products and activities associated with the elites, such as classical music, fine arts, and literature. And low culture, in its own sense, you can put in brackets popular culture. This includes more accessible and mass consumed forms like dance music, street art, and some forms of local craft. We have the concept of subculture and counterculture. What do we mean by subculture? Take an example of Federal Capital Territory, or take an example of, let's say, Okene. Okene is a town located in Kogi State, and it is strictly inhabited by the Ibiras. The Ibiras are the original owners of the land. But when you now have little HAUSA community within Okene, they are referred to as subculture. What is subculture itself? Subcultures are minor cultural groups within the larger culture that have distinct values or practices, such as youth groups, religion, sects, or occupational communities. If you live in Kano, okay, go to Kano. Sabongeri, they said it's mostly inhabited, or those who do businesses there are mostly the Igbo people. You can say the Igbos who reside in Sabongeri, Kano are subculture because they are a cultural group within the larger culture. And what is the larger culture in Kano? The larger culture in Kano is the Hausa culture. Therefore, when other groups live within the larger culture, it is called subculture. What then do we mean by counterculture? From the word, look at it, counter, to oppose, to go against. In most situations, counterculture always actively rejects the dominant cultural norms, but they tend to promote alternative lifestyles or ideologies, which implies that they do not in any way conform with the doctrines, rules, and regulations of the larger culture. However, they will reject it completely. As they reject it, they are also very active in the cause of their rejection. They now reject the dominant cultural norms. It's just like you being a Yoruba man, living in Kano, living in Enugu, living in Okene, living in Benue. You now reject their own cultural norms and you begin to promote yours. In the course of promoting your own lifestyle, it could be because of your lifestyle, it could be because of the kind of food you consume, and it could be because of your ideology. Then let's now move into details. The Nigerian cultural context. You need to understand clearly that Nigeria is very rich in culture despite our level of cultural diversity. What do I mean by cultural diversity? We are talking about the variations, the differences, the things that make one culture differ from another culture. Nigeria is a mosaic of cultural diversity with over 250 ethnic groups and more than 500 languages. Class, if you can get me clearly, please signify, because the network may be poor at your end or at my end, please. Whatever question you want to ask, please drop them on the comment section. I can always put them down and attend to them as we progress in our lecture. Like I said, if you take a critical look at the Nigerian cultural context, you will agree with me that Nigeria is diverse. And we often say that there is unity in diversity. But if we may ask ourselves, how united are we? How far has culture promoted unity in Nigeria? What is the relationship between the Yorubas and the Igbos? What is the relationship between the Yorubas and the Hausas? Is the relationship between the Igbos and the Yorubas cordial? Is the relationship between the Hausas and the Igbos cordial as well? These are the questions. However, it is important that we get this clearly, that the diversity we're making reference to right now has been a source of strength, and at the same time, a kind of complexity in the nation's history and development. Because those who are very familiar with historical archives will know and understand that despite the fact that culture over the years has been able to strengthen our relationships, it has always also come with a kind of complexity in our history. There are three dominant ethnic groups in Nigeria, and these three dominant ethnic groups have been the ones piloting the affairs of the nation. It is only in few instances that we get to see people from minority ethnic tribes holding political positions, controlling public offices. This is what we intend to do. You know, Nigeria is divided into geopolitical zones. We have 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria. And the 6 geopolitical zones are not necessarily constitutional issues. There is nowhere in Nigeria's constitution where the geopolitical zones are listed. The issue of geopolitical zone, it's not constitutional. It is a political calculation to unite people. We have 6 geopolitical zones. Let me start from the north. We have the North Central, that include the states of Niger, Kogi, Kwara, Plateau State, Nasarawa State, Federal Capital Territory. These are the North Central states of Nigeria. There are many people there. They have their culture, they have their way of life, and they have their sense of dialogue. Let's move to northeastern part of Nigeria. We have Adamawa, we have Bauchi, we have Taraba, we have Borno, we have Yobe. What was the 6th one? I think I can't remember the 6th one. Adamawa, Bauchi, Gombe, Taraba, Borno, and the likes. We have the state of Northwest that include the state of Katsina, Kaduna, Zamfara, Sokoto, Kebbi, Jigawa, Kano. Let's now go to the south. We have the Southeast, Abia, Anambra, Imo, Enugu, Ebonyi. Let's move to the South-South. We have Edo, we have Delta, Bayelsa, Rivers, Cross River, and the likes. Let's now move to the southwestern Nigeria. We have Lagos, we have Ondo, we have Oyo, we have Ekiti, Ogun, and Osun. These are the 6 geopolitical zones within the Federal Republic of Nigeria. However, the 3 dominant ethnic groups are the HAUSA Fulanis in the north, the Yoruba people in the southwestern Nigeria, and the Igbo people in the southeast. Each of these groups also have their minority, or let me say they have their numerous minority ethnicities, such as the Ijaw people, the Tiv-Ibibio. These ones can be found in the south. We also have the Kanuri, the Nupe, and the Ibira. They can be found in the north. Making specific reference to how some of these minority ethnic tribes have also developed their rich cultural traditions in form of language, religion, art, music, dress, and their social organization. If you go to the north, the Hausa Fulanis are known for their cultural heritage, especially Islamic heritage. They have maximum regard and respect for hierarchy and their traditional architecture. Over the years, they have been able to maintain a strong oral history, tradition, and social norms based on Sharia and communal values. But also note that it is not all the states in the north that are Sharia binded. Some are not Sharia binded. You now go to the southwest. The Yoruba people have also a highly developed cultural system with deep roots in spiritual practices such as Ifa divination. They also have elaborate festivals like the Osun Osogbo Festival, Oromiyan Festival, and they also have contributed significantly to literature, theater, and sculpture. If you now go to the Igbo side, which is the southeastern part of Nigeria, the Igbo people also have been able to emphasize some form of republicanism, individual enterprise. That's what we call the Igbo apprenticeship, the Igbo apprenticeship system. You send a boy to the master to learn. After some years, the master gives the boy some money to start up a good life. That is a very good and commendable form of economic development system. In the Igbo communities, they are highly enterprising and they also have community cooperation. Their traditions are preserved through storytelling. Even if storytelling is not limited to only the Igbos, virtually every African society use storytelling as a form of passing information from one generation to another. They rely so much on their masquerade festivals and rites of passage. Now, there is something that is very unique about traditional Nigerian societies. And what is it? Traditional Nigerian societies values communal living. Communalism has always been part of us. Go to your village today. Some of you who feel your village is only inhabited by witches and wizards. No. There is no pride in not knowing anything about your culture. There is no pride in not knowing who your people are. It is not only communal life. Excuse me. There is also maximum respect for elders. But the Gen Zs are spoiling some of these things. You and I belong to the same generation. I may just be older than some of you with few years or thereabouts. But we need to continue to hold stronger respect for elders and extended family systems, because these are the things that have brought Africa to the state Africa is right now. It's even so unfortunate that most of us here cannot even speak our indigenous languages. We cannot. There is no pride in it. Not at all. There is no pride in not being able to speak your indigenous language. There is no pride. Therefore, these values are embodied in proverbs, songs, moral tales, and these things are done in a way that it's going to reinforce social norms and cultural continuity. This implies that if I get married to you, I also have to pass the culture to my children from one generation to the other, because that is the only way they can get to know about my culture. But something spoiled, something affected our culture in Africa. And what is it? Colonialism. Most of us have been hearing colonial masters, colonial masters, colonial masters. Who are they? These people were intruders who came to intrude into African system. They told us our culture was bad, that we should adopt theirs. They told us everything about Africa was animistic. They told us everything about Africa was black because we're not communicating with other parts of the world. They said they came with a civilizing mission. They came to bring us out of darkness. But as far as some of us are concerned, Africa was never a dark continent, as claimed by the Europeans and the Arab traders. Arab traders also invaded Africa. In fact, theirs was more critical than the European colonial masters, because the only legacy the Arab slave traders left in Africa is just religion, no form of socio-economic development. But despite colonialism and the forces of globalization, Nigerians and Africans still hold in high esteem their cultural values and beliefs. Our norms have persisted. Our cultural values continue to get adaptation. Even despite the fact that some of our cultural values have been merged with foreign influences, there are still people who uphold the norms and values of our culture dearly. In Nigeria of today, urban Nigerian youths have continuously or often blend traditional values with modern lifestyle choices. And this now gives room for the creation of dynamic subcultures that reflects both. Gwami Podi was like, it's like rather, how can our cultural beliefs, please, you can ask the question again. So, like I was saying, in today's world, the youths who are mostly dominant in urban centers have been able to blend our traditional values with modern lifestyle choices. This now gives room for the creation of subcultures that reflects both our heritage and cultural innovation. Do not also forget that religion is central to Nigerian cultural identity. Religion. But in my own personal opinion, I don't know about others, religion over the years have divided us more than it has united us. The northern Nigeria is predominantly Muslim. There are Christians. And a critical example, when you go to Gombe, go to Borno, go to Adamawa, go to Kaduna, southern Kaduna, go to Bauchi, places like Tafawa Balewa, you see a lot of Christians. But the northern Nigeria, they are predominantly Muslims. Then come to the southern Nigeria. The southern Nigeria is largely Christian. And many communities in southern Nigeria still continue to practice traditional African religion. Religious festivals like Eid, the recent Doba, Christmas, and New Yam festivals all play significant roles in community life and cultural expression. Take a look at cultural expressions like music. I personally am a great lover of Fuji. I'm a great lover of highlife, and I'm a great lover of Afrobeats. But I love Fuji more than every other genre of music in the world because that is what communicates my cultural values directly to me. I often dress in Yoruba. This is my cap. It signifies something. In fact, let me tell you this today, that every direction you wear your cap to has a meaning in Yoruba land. My cap is this way, it has a meaning. This is another side, it has a meaning. Some will wear theirs like this, it has meaning. Some put theirs at the back, it has meaning. Therefore, it is important that we take hold of our culture, we take charge of our culture. We need to understand that cultural values and beliefs are very essential to our personal growth. You now need to understand that cultural expressions or culture in Nigeria is dynamic, and it is a multifaceted problem or phenomenon that influences every aspect of individual and our collective identity. Therefore, we must critically understand Nigerian culture because it requires recognizing the multiplicity of us, our history, social, spiritual foundations that will shape our lives. We need to understand all this. Also remember that as Nigeria as a country continue to evolve, we must take our culture serious because cultural values are eroding. We need to do something about it. You and I have to be custodian of culture. Excuse me. It is lack of cultural values that is affecting the present generation. In fact, some parents see pride in their children not being able to speak their indigenous languages. No. To me, that is not pride. I'm not saying questions. So I want to believe that everything we have said here is clearly understood. Now, as a country that is diverse like us, our cultural diversity remains a powerful source of pride, resilience, and creativity. You need to get this. Now, we've been saying Nigeria, 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 Nigeria. How did we even get the name Nigeria? How did Nigeria as a country come into stay? Nigeria was already in existence. How can cultural beliefs boost the economic system? Fine. It can boost economic system through tourism. When they used to do, take an example of Calabar Festival. Sometimes ago you see Europeans, you see Americans, you see Arabs, they come to celebrate with us. But those things are presently fading off. They are fading away. Through tourism. Some of us may have heard Festac, Festival of Arts and Culture of 1977. Nigeria made a whole lot of money. In fact, there is an estate named Festac in Lagos State till today. And I don't think the name will ever change. Then origin of the name Nigeria. After the origin of the name Nigeria, I think I'll have to go offline, then we'll meet again. Nigeria derives its name from Niger River. River Niger is a prominent river that traverses the country because the name was reportedly coined in the 1800s by British journalist Flora Shaw, who later became the wife of Lord Lugard. Lord Frederick. How can countries like Nigeria balance cultural exchange with preserving traditional culture? Emmanuel, it is because we need to build tourism. It is through tourism that people from other parts of the world will understand that there is something unique about us. Little advertisement is okay for a good product because a good product will always sell itself. But in Nigeria of today, little advertisement is not enough for our culture because our values are fading. Therefore, we need to do something very urgent about it. The term Niger itself, according to history, may have originated from the Tuareg phrase because it was used by inhabitants around the Timbuktu to describe the river long before European colonization. Nigeria is known as the giant of Africa. In fact, it is the most populous country on the continent of Africa. With a population exceeding 200 million, our estimated population now stands around 250 million. Nigeria boasts of one of the largest democracies in the world. But how democratic are we? We are governed by a presidential system. And Nigeria operates a dual economy that is fueled by its abundant natural resources. We also have a very robust agricultural tradition and a very dynamic trade sector. But see where Nigeria is today. I'm sure the lecture we're having right now, some of you struggle to get data. Some struggle to get funds to transport themselves to the campuses, both main and main campuses. But Nigeria is rich in oil and gas. Nigeria is rich in minerals. However, we need to actively work so that we can develop other productive industries that would leverage on our massive population and economic influence. Like I said in the beginning, Nigeria is home to over 250 ethnic groups with a variety of religion, with rich cultural heritage. Our art and cultural expressions such as festivals, music, sculpture, literature, and films are internationally recognized and celebrated. Look at Afrobeat. Burna Boy is there. Wizkid is there. Rema is there. Tiwa Savage is there. Ayasta is there. They are all there, making waves, earning a lot of money, showcasing Nigeria to the world. What is now the geographical location and physical features of Nigeria? Nigeria is situated in the innermost corner of the Gulf of Guinea on Africa's west coast. And it lies between latitudes of 315 to 1330 north and longitudes of 259 to 1005 east. We share border with Benin Republic to the west. That's why if you are going to Benin Republic, you can always follow Lagos or a place called Shaki in Oyo State or a place called Idiroko in Ogun State. It is bordered to the north, to Niger, by Niger to the north. There are places in northern Nigeria that you stand there and be looking at the boundary of Niger. And Cameroon to the east through states like Cross River states. And the Gulf of Guinea to the south. Nigeria covers a total landmass of 923,768 square kilometers. Then out of these 923,763 square kilometers, only 910,768 square kilometer is land area. And we have 13,000 kilometers square of water. Nigeria stretches about 1,046 kilometers from the north to south and 1,127 east to west. In fact, Nigeria's landmass is very big. It is nearly double of that of France as a country. If you now take a look at can entertainment boost cultural beliefs? Yes, of course. Can entertainment boost cultural beliefs and generate revenue? Of course. Look at Nollywood. There are some kind of films they have been showcasing lately. Films like Bashorunga, films like Seven Doors. Look at the cultural heritage that was portrayed in those films. We can. I was talking about climate. Nigeria as a country experiences a tropical climate that is often characterized by raining and dry seasons with significant regional variation. Climate varies from one part of Nigeria to another. Please, I would like you to continue to like this lecture if we are trying, so we can add more power to our elbow, please. I would like you to do that, please, if you can hear me clearly. And if there is anybody who wants to ask me a question physically, I can add you to the live video, about 3, 4, 5 persons, so we can have an interactive session. Is the class rep online? If he's online, with all the tech globalization today, sir, do you think going back to our old cultural ways still makes sense, knowing how much tech can? No. We can maintain culture, putting into consideration our cultural values. To me, globalization should not in any way affect our culture. No, it should not in any way affect our culture. People now use technology to boost culture. Go to Saudi Arabia. Everything they do there is cultural. It's about, even their religion is cultural. It is unique to them. You now see drones, you see robots, you see a lot of things in Mecca, in Medina. You go to Vatican City, you see a lot of things. We don't need to deviate from our culture, because it is the whites, the Europeans, the Arabs. Europeans will tell you that African masquerade is evil. But Santa during Christmas is unique. You even pay to go and see Santa. But African masquerade walks directly on the street and you are scared of African masquerade. That is too xenocentric. That portrays the fact that we believe so much in the inferiority of our culture. Nigeria should have developed beyond this level, please. The southeastern part of Nigeria is hot and wet most of the year, while the southwestern Nigeria and its interior regions are drier. If you go to the north, if you go to the northern Nigeria, a savanna climate prevails. And this transition into conditions with sparse rainfall. Look at the rainy seasons in Nigeria. It mostly spans from March to November in the south and mid-May to September in the far north. The southern Nigeria always experience what we call August break, a brief dry spell. And annual rainfall varies from over 3,000 mm in the southeast to about 500 mm in the far north. Then what about the temperature of Nigeria? Temperatures in the south remain relatively stable year-round, with coastal cities like Lagos, Port Harcourt, averaging highs of about 30 to 33 centigrade, and then lows around, let's say, 20 to 22. But the northern Nigeria experiences a wider temperature ranges. In fact, especially during dry season. For example, the city of what are the benefits? I didn't see that question clearly. For instance, Maiduguri, the capital of Borno State, can exceed 38 degrees centigrade during the hottest months, while occasional nighttime frost occur. Then if you look at the humidity level over there, it is generally high, dropping significantly during the Harmattan wind period in the north. Now, if you now look at relief and land reforms in Nigeria, Nigerian terrain includes plains in the north and south, and this is interspersed with central plateaus and hills. Key plains include Sokoto and Borno regions, while the Jos Plateau stands out for its volcanic features. But I don't think there was any time in Nigeria we experienced volcano. But it does have volcanic features. So the southeastern border with Cameroon is Nigeria's most mountainous area, which implies that the highest forms of mountain, the most mountainous area in Nigeria is the border between, with the advantage of technology today, what are the possible ways Nigeria please the questions again. So you now agree with me that Nigeria is a very unique country with the advancement of technology today. What are the possible ways Nigerian culture can be promoted? Nigeria culture can be promoted everywhere in the world through the use of technology. What you need to do is to show the world what your culture is all about. What you need to do is to tell the world what Nigeria is made of. Therefore, class, what we have been able to do today is to examine the general composition of Nigeria. In our next class, we will be making reference to prehistoric and early civilizations in Nigeria. Where we'll talk about pre-colonial, colonial, and post-colonial. We are going to critically examine pre-colonial tradition and history. We are also going to examine colonial influences, and we cap it up by having a thorough examination of post-colonial aspirations of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you, class.